evening and welcome to the news. The next hour and a half will feature stories from different parts of the country and some from the West African sub-region as well. On the runway to better services, the Nigerian aviation industry in new collaborations. We also have a special report which takes off with questions hoping to land with answers. How healthy is the nation's healthcare delivery system? Nigeria launches 2023-2024 Demographic and Health Survey. On taxation waivers, Senate grills ministers of Finance and National Planning. Pensions without tension. House of Representatives assures retired civil servants that there will be sweets after their sweat. On the trial of justice, correspondent follows the investigative report of the death of Greatness Olorunfemi, denied greatness but not denied justice. And from the sub-region, just 4 days to the summit meeting of ECOWAS heads of state and government, the knotty issue of a neighbor in political labor remains. What should the larger family do? We also have our regular packages on environment, security, politics, youth, the economy and sports. But don't take my words for it. After all, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I am Elizabeth Omori. Welcome to News Extra. We begin with regional matters. President Bola Tinubu has declared that cooperation is imperative for economic prosperity in West Africa, noting that lack of synergy between Nigeria and Benin Republic has been an encumbrance to mutual development. President Tinubu said this when he received President Patrice Talon of Benin Republic at the State House. In a statement by the Presidential Advisor on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, the Nigerian leader says Nigeria and Benin Republic share a lot in common, describing both countries as conjoined twins held together at the hip. He acknowledged that due to lack of synergy, both countries have not delivered the necessary economic ties that would develop their respective nations. The president said the two nations must have common economic principles and priorities as endorsed by the economic program the neighboring country is developing through interministerial collaboration. He also declared that they will support their private sector interests to facilitate prosperity in both countries. President Talon, who was at the State House to seek the support of President Tinubu on improving trade relations ahead of the Economic Community of West African States ECOWAS summit, described the relationship between his country and Nigeria as crucial. He said Benin Republic is seeking stronger trade ties with Nigeria, emphasizing the free movement of people and goods between both countries. The Beninese president said at the level of ECOWAS, they embrace free movement and integration, also need to prepare necessary ground for the African Continental Free Trade Area being planned at the continental level. The visitor, who acknowledged the difficulties, issues of smuggling has brought on bilateral relations between both countries, added that they will work hard to coordinate and ensure that Nigeria's interests are protected as they integrate the nation's economies. Now, the political stability of West African sub-region and the Sahel seems to be under threat due to the new trend of coups, which analysts say are detrimental to the region's development. In response to this, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, is preferring solutions to the complexities of security threats posed by terrorism and extremism in member states. Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Tugar declared open the 51st ordinary session of the Mediation and Security Council meeting of ECOWAS in Abuja. Garba Natala reports.
West Africa recorded more than 2,000 terrorist attack incidents between January to October 2023. Over 6 million people are in their need of humanitarian aid and food assistance in the sub-region. Concerned by the increasing security challenges, ECOWAS member states deemed it fit at their Mediation and Security Council meeting to proffer lasting solutions. Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Tugar says the recent foiled coup attempts in Sierra Leone and Guinea-Bissau are further indicators of the apparent threat against democracy in ECOWAS.
We can emerge from this session with a clear path toward building a more secure, stable, and prosperous ECOWAS for the benefit of our community citizens. Together, we can overcome any obstacle that stands in the way of our collective vision and shared progress.
The attempted coup in Niger has further distracted attention from the support to these transition processes, as the transition countries seek to forge a solidarity with the military authorities in the Republic of Niger, thereby creating an impression of a divide between them and ECOWAS.
Umar Aliu Toure, president of the ECOWAS Commission, while briefing the council, maintained organized crime, armed rebellion, resurgence of unconstitutional changes of government, illegal maritime activities are among issues driving insecurity in the region, including military seizure of power.
These military coups that the region has suffered are not only based on fake narrative and false justification, they are also drivers of insecurity in the region.
So far, several reports are to be considered at the ministerial level to update developments on restoration of constitutional order in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea, as well as other threats in the sub-region. In Abuja, Garba Muhammad Natala, NTA News.
In few days, there will be another summit of the ECOWAS heads of state and governments in Abuja. The impasse in Niamey is expected to top the agenda. ECOWAS demands have not been met by the junta in place, while it has made several demands of its own. Ambassador Bara Awanin, a retired Foreign Service officer, joins us on News Extra to discuss more. Ambassador Bara, thank you for joining us on News Extra.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Now, the standoff between ECOWAS and the junta in place in Niger remains with no side willing to blink first. Are we likely to see a different approach on the 10th of December?
Well, the problem in Niger Republic is just the latest example of democracy recession across the sub-region. And when the ECOWAS leaders met in Abuja on 30th July this year in response to the coup in Niger, they made it very clear that their objective is to see to the early restoration of democratic order in that country. Well, of course, everybody is familiar with all the issues that have happened since then in terms of the most controversial being the threat of the use of force. But ECOWAS has never threatened to apply force to resolve this conundrum in Niger Republic, and has, as a matter of fact, in other countries with similar challenges, Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea-Conakry. So I think the summit coming up on Sunday, in my view, I'm not privy to the agenda, but I suspect the political crisis in Niger will be at the top of the agenda. But there are other matters, there are other issues, other challenges in the country, across the continent. The security challenges, the humanitarian crisis, the issue of making ECOWAS relevant to the people, to revitalize the organization, to make it able to deliver tangible benefits to community citizens. So I think the leaders meeting in Abuja, we have to reassess themselves, look at what has happened, and continue to engage with the junta in Mali, in Burkina Faso, and most importantly, in Niger.
Niger. All right, Ambassador Agbara, the junta wants Nigeria to restore electricity and other services, yet it has kept President Bazoum in captivity. How would ECOWAS proceed?
I think the ECOWAS position is very clear.
Okay.
The position of ECOWAS is that the junta should restore democratic order in that country, and that includes releasing President Bazoum and his family from detention. There can't be any better way to create and sustain dialogue with the regional body other than to release Bazoum from detention and allow him choose where he wants to go. I think a lot of water has gone under the bridge. The issue of handing over power to Bazoum, I don't think is realistic at this moment. But the junta must think seriously about ECOWAS' demand for them to restore democratic authority as quickly as possible.
All right, let's talk about the sentient members of the regional bloc, Mali, Burkina Faso, and then Guinea. They seem to be playing the script of some bigger international players. Is ECOWAS putting this into consideration?
Well, I think what is playing out there among these countries that I like to call them the axis of unconstitutional authorities in West Africa. They are trying to consolidate power among themselves and also to posture, to create the impression that they will always come to each other's support. You will recall that recently, as early as last Saturday, they formed the Alliance of the Sahel States, a kind of mutual defense arrangement. That was a signal to ECOWAS that they are ready to raise the cost of any direct military confrontation with the regional body. So for me, I think they are just posturing, and they will not be able, because these are really, let's be frank, they are poor countries. Who is going to provide the funding and the support for them to do what they are doing? Mind you, by the way, they have also exited the G5 force that was put together to fight jihadist terrorism in the sub-region. So on their own, they are powerless. They only get power when they collaborate with others.
That's very correct.
But
now,
they are not ready to do that at the moment.
Ambassador Gbara, what new tools can be brought into mediation to ensure a more positive outcome for all, considering Nigeria's ties with Niger?
Well, let me put it very clearly. Nigeria has no bilateral dispute with Niger. Everything Nigeria is doing is out of being a member of ECOWAS. ECOWAS took a position on Niger, and as a responsible member and leader of ECOWAS, Nigeria is treaty bound to respect, to implement all ECOWAS resolutions on that country. So this is not an issue between Nigeria and Niger. Look, it beats my imagination to even recall that a distinguished forum like the Northern Senators Forum have actually asked the President Tinubu, to ease tensions on the Niger Republic. Nigeria, the President Tinubu is not president of ECOWAS or West Africa. He cannot force other countries in ECOWAS to toe Nigeria's line.
That's
and
true.
by the way, the threat of military coups in West Africa is real. Just last Saturday, there was an attempted coup that was filed in Sierra Leone. So the senators and people who are clamoring for sanctions to be eased on Niger should know that they owe their position. In fact, there will be no Northern Senators Forum in Nigeria if Nigeria was not a democracy. They are there because Nigeria is a thriving democracy. So they don't have to do anything that will undermine Nigeria's foreign policy.
Yes.
It's wrong.
It's very
They
wrong.
should let government run foreign policy, and then they can concentrate on lawmaking.
All right. Ambassador Gbara Awanen, I want to thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for your contributions on the issues before us. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Moving on, Nigerian lawmakers are asking for a more transparent and accountable system of tax waiver in order to ensure the country enjoys the full benefit. The Senate Committee on Appropriation emphasized this position when the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, confirmed the trillion naira worth of tax waiver was granted in 2023 alone during budget defense. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports on some of the budget defense sessions.
The Minister of Finance and his counterparts of Budget and National Planning are engaging with the lawmakers for the second time within 24 hours. The issue of tax waiver granted companies dominated the session.
Some people are taking advantage unnecessary of Nigerians and benefiting to the detriment of Nigerians. When you talk about credit, tax credit, it's an expenditure and it should go through the National Assembly.
The issue of waivers, that the provision that was made this year in this year's budget, for us, since it's a transition period, can we half it by reducing it?
The ministers reassured that the present administration is revamping the system by opting for tax rebates.
If somebody is going to be given a concessional interest rate, they pay the normal interest, carry out their transaction, and then they get a rebate.
The chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service and the managing director of the Nigerian Ports Authority in their submissions told the committee that the 19 trillion naira revenue target for 2024 is achievable.
The budgeted figure we have in 2024 is 19 trillion. If the fundamentals are correct, which I know by God's grace we will, and one of those major fundamentals is 1.7 million barrels per day that we've set for oil production.
When the purchasing power of the Nigerians increases, it means there will be either more exports or more imports, but most likely more imports. That means we'll have more traffic. That means we'll have more revenue.
Also, as the National Assembly for Budget Defense was the Permanent Secretary, State House, with the Senate Committee on Special Duties. He explains the 200% increase in the State House 2024 budget proposals.
We started with the presidency because we want Nigerians to know no MDA would be spared from defending its budget, and we are starting from the #1 office of the land, that is the presidency.
I observed that in 2023 your budget is 21 billion, but it has now jumped to 76 billion.
Capital cannot but increase as a result of obvious reasons. The exchange rates of some of the things we need to buy, as well as the cost of operations.
Away from budget defense, the Senate Ad Hoc Committee investigating the turnaround maintenance in Nigeria's refineries and the Senate Committee on Public Accounts have, in separate sittings, decried the non-appearance of stakeholders.
NNPC is the core spindle around which all this investigation revolves. Whatever information we get from you will not make any meaning unless NNPC is available.
Auditor General's of the Federation's report is not an indictment, but it is rather a wake-up call. We should find ways to correct the wrongs, to make the system better, and we move on.
They insist that representations will not be entertained. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Edo State government has presented a budget of 520.5 billion naira for the year 2024 to the State House of Assembly. Governor Peter Mbah told lawmakers that the appropriation bill tagged Budget of Disruptive Economic Growth will provide more finance to the education, health and agriculture sectors. Chika Owu has details.
Before presenting the 2024 appropriation bill, Governor Peter Mbah cast the mind of the House to the supplementary budget of 2023. He said the fund was among other things used for the provision of water of 120 million cubic meters, construction and rehabilitation of 81 roads, expansion of National Cash Transfer Register of Federal Government from 43,000 to 260,000 beneficiaries. The 2024 budget has its recurrent expenditure at 107.2 billion naira and capital expenditure at 414.3 billion naira, amounting to a total of 521.5 billion naira, which is the highest in the state's history. Identifying education as a major tool to eradicate poverty, Governor Mba explained that 134.5 billion naira has been earmarked for education, which is 33% of the 2024 budget. This is to develop 260 new smart schools and for training and retraining of teachers. Health sector will gulp 21.7 billion naira for efficient healthcare delivery.
We are committed to ensuring good governance, accountability, and the prudent management of public funds. We will work tirelessly to eradicate corruption and promote a culture of transparency in all government activities. Fiscal prudence and accountability will remain at the core of our financial management.
The governor, who reiterated his commitment to boost the state economy, expressed optimism that the appropriation bill will bring this vision to fruition. In Enugu, Chika Ubu, NTA News.
And recently, the federal government directed medical institutions across the country to increase the number of medical undergraduates intake as part of intervention to replace medical personnel who left the system. The Senate Committee on Health, in tune with this policy, has commenced engagements with medical facilities to find out their level of preparedness for the new policy. Ignatius Nkwo brings us details.
Second-day oversight visit by the 10th Senate Committee on Health, the first for the Federal Medical Center, Jabi, Abuja, basically to review the 2023 budget performance of the hospital. But the brain drain in the medical sector was a much more bigger concern.
So you need to put in place the equipment that will make it possible for you not only to train the numbers that you have been training so far, but anticipating a larger number because of the paucity of health workers we have.
I know the effort the National Assembly, the Federal Ministry of Health are doing in order to ensure smooth replacement of some of the staff that do leave for some other places. We will encourage you, ma'am, to see how this can be done quickly.
At the Pharmaceutical Council of Nigeria, the committee met with a more disturbing statistics of the number of Nigerian pharmacists who have left and those on the verge of leaving the system. The Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria has already commenced the expansion of intake of student nurses as steps to check migration of nurses.
Virtually every week, we receive not less than 20 to 30 applications of pharmacists requesting for us to issue them letters of good standing to enable them move outside the country.
We also introduce what is called double stream admission for all the colleges of nursing in order to close the gap. While the nurses are leaving, we are also producing.
For the National Institute of Pharmaceutical Research and Development, poor funding remains a big hurdle.
AI is causing waves in different sectors, and we are putting together the building blocks here for us to begin to do in silico drug discovery before it goes to in vitro and in vivo.
We will do our very best to give legislative backing to enable you perform your duties.
These visits are in preparation for the 2024 budget defense. Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
The House of Representatives says it will closely scrutinize the revenue collection and remittance processes of the Nigeria Customs Service to ensure that all customs duties and levies are promptly accounted for and remitted into the Federation account. This was at the inaugural sitting of the House Committee on Customs and Excise. National Assembly correspondent Mitari Ikme reports.
The Nigeria Customs Service Act 2023 repealed the 63-year-old Customs and Excise Management Act, seeking to reposition the service as a critical institution that safeguards the nation's borders and generates substantial revenue for the economy. Members of the House Committee on Customs and Excise expressed commitment to full implementation of the new law to streamline customs procedures, enhance trade facilitation, improve revenue generation, and promote economic growth.
It is worth mentioning that the new act introduces a more streamlined and revenue-enhancing approach. Instead of previously imposed 7% surcharge on duty payable, the act now mandates a 4% free on-board FOB charge. This change ensures that waivers granted do not adversely impact the revenue collection target of the Nigerian Customs, leading to a projected threefold increase in income.
On its part, the House Committee on Interior is promising to improve the nation's internal security through robust legislation that will promote deployment of technology and procurement of military hardware to tackle security challenges. The committee also pledged legislative support for the welfare of personnel of the security agencies. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
A sigh of relief, you may say. Delay in gratuities and death benefits will no longer be an issue to civil servants after retirement. This assurance is coming from the Chairman, House of Representatives Committee on Pensions, Hussaini Mohammed Jallo, during an oversight visit to the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate and Pensions Board in Abuja. National Assembly correspondent Mohammed Rabiu Ali reports.
In the past, pension of retirees has been an issue resulting to untold hardship after service. Recent statistics, however, is showing that the graph of complaints has been going down from 4,525 complaints in 2017 to 2,432 in 2022. The House Committee on Pension, during its oversight, visits the Pension Transitional Directorate Arrangement, PTAD, are received by the Executive Secretary, where she briefed the members on the successes recorded.
From 2015 to November 2023, so far we have paid a total of 810 billion in monthly pensions. Payments of long outstanding arrears to pensioners across all the pension departments, most significantly the huge arrears inherited from the defunct and privatized agencies, of which we have paid over 50-something billion.
The committee also visited the National Intelligence Agency Pension House on issues affecting pension matters. The legislators rounded off their oversight at the Military Pensions Board and were briefed by the chairman, Paul Iromeson.
I want to appreciate this committee for your constant support and effort towards the board. The support has improved the discharge of our core mandate, which is the administering of pension of military personnel and payment of their benefit to our NUK of deceased personnel.
We're 100% convinced of the way and manner the pension administration is going on at the Military Pension Board. Now the issue of unpaid pensioners of the military and other pensioners is becoming a thing of the past, whereby I don't see pensioners, be it military or sleeping overhead bridges or at motor parks.
The committee assured pension boards of its support to effectively perform their statutory duties. In Abuja, Muhammad Rabiu Ali.
It's time to take a break. The news continues shortly. The National Judicial Council at its 104th meeting has considered and recommended 11 new justices of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. The justices are Hannatu Sanki, Chidiebere Uwa, Chioma Nwusu Iheme, Haruna Samani, and Mo Adomi. Others are Obande Ogbonya, Stephen Ada, Habib Abiru, Jamilu Tukur, Abubakar Umar, and Mohammed Idris. They are the successful candidates as heads of courts and other judicial officers for the federal and state courts in Nigeria, including one justice of the Court of Appeal and chief judges of Taraba and Kebbi states. Also recommended are High Court judges for Bayelsa, Ogun, and Cross River states, Grand Kadi in Sharia Courts of Appeal in Nasarawa and Zamfara states. Also on the list are presidents of customary courts of appeal in Bayelsa, Ogun, Taraba, and Oyo states. A statement by the Director of Information, Soji Oye, notes that All recommended candidates would be sworn in after approval of their recommendations by the President and governors and the subsequent confirmation of their appointments by the Senate and State Houses of Assembly. In other news, the 10-man independent investigative panel on the death of Greatness Olorunfemi, a victim of one chance robbery in Abuja, has concluded investigations on allegations surrounding her death over a month ago. Hakeemat Aliyu brings us details of the report submitted to the FCT Health Services and Environmental Secretariat.
The one chance robbery incident of Tuesday, 26 September 2023, which led to the death of Greatness Olorunfemi, remains fresh in the minds of many. Her death was widely reported to be as a result of denial of medical attention at the Maitama District Hospital, Abuja. Following the allegations, FCT Health Services and Environmental Secretariat promptly set up an investigative panel to unravel the circumstances, with a view to bringing to book the medical personnel involved. The investigative panel, led by Professor Mohammed Aminu, says the following findings were made after analysis of CCTV footage from the hospital and interrogation of eyewitnesses and medical officers.
The casualty nurse first attended to her within 40 seconds of her arrival. And then there was also a doctor that was passing by who attended to her within 3 minutes. And there was also the casualty officer who attended to her before completion of 5 minutes of arrival, respectively. They all testified, and she was brought in dead.
The report also states that there was no request for police report by any medical personnel before the patients will be attended to, as reported. While the submissions put to rest most of the allegations, Secretary Health Services and Environmental Secretariat Dr. Adedolakwa Fashawi condoles with the family of late Greatness, appealing to the security agencies to give the case a closure.
From what we have heard, she indeed was brought in dead. And social media, as good as it is, also whips up unnecessary sentiments at times. But these sentiments lead us to look inwards.
Recommendations of the panel include improved medical facilities and the need for intensified awareness on prompt treatment of accident and gunshot victims before requesting police report. In Abuja, Hakeemat Aliyu, NTA News.
Now let's shift attention to the entertainment creative industry. Nigeria is known for her rich, diverse cultures, arts and crafts, second to none. Now these beautiful cultural attributes usually burst into radiant colors at each National Festival of Arts and Culture, an annual event the whole nation looks forward to. Well, I can tell you that plans are on to take the festival to a higher level. So, key players in Nigeria's culture and tourism sector are currently in Abuja to review the festival and grey areas needing attention since inception and recommendations by observers to make the festival more economically viable. The National Festival for Arts and Culture, NAFEST, is an event to mobilize stakeholders in the arts and culture industry. Here, they showcase their ingenuity, interact, and project Nigeria's cultures to the global community. "35 years down memory lane, the cultural event is increasingly attracting international attention. Though the festival has recorded successes over the years, actors in the industry say there are challenges impeding the full actualization of the potential therein. Director General NCAC Olusegun Rushewe highlights funding, earmarking, photography, political commitment of governments, and promotion of indigenous arts and crafts as areas requiring urgent attention.
This is the sector
that has the highest number of employment in this country. It is. And once we support the private sector and we put things together, I want to assure you a new beginning will start for this country.
Commissioners of Arts and Culture from the 36 states and the FCT pledged to support cultural tourism for economic development.
Is it about developing our art? Is it about developing our craft? Is it about developing our cuisines? What are those things that NAFES highlights that's in our state that we can improve upon? Those are the things we will take back home and look at how we can improve it so that we can grow it beyond the level of mere showcasing it.
Culture and tourism is not something that can be done essentially by states alone. That's why we are opening our doors to private partnership. People should come in to develop business together, and we have memorandum of understanding and arrangement on how to generate better funds.
They recommend inculcation of right values, respect for cultures, and cultural integration as catalysts to building a peaceful and healthy nation. Away from arts and culture, the population of a geographical entity has a lot of effects on the area. For Nigeria, population explosion has come with myriads of environmental, social, and economic challenges. It is no wonder, therefore, that Nigeria's National Population Commission is consulting with foreign partners on securing technical expertise ahead of what it calls a green census for Nigeria in 2024. This aid, being sought in addition to its smart climate innovation, is believed to provide geospatial data for a robust planning for Nigeria. Charles Alpha reports.
We are all born equal. This was the resounding statement.
The planned national head count 2023 was put on hold for some reasons.
The postponement was occasioned by the transition. All the issues that were not taken into account before the census was postponed are now brought in.
That postponement was deemed necessary as it is now affording the Commission ample time to perfect its art. At COP28 in Dubai, the Commission is exploring ways to secure technical partnership that will help mainstream its climate issues and particularly carbon footprint reduction.
The support here, since we have meeting both local and international stakeholders, we need support in the area of technical expertise, capacity building, so I can support the government.
The census platform has given environment and climate questions free access. Therefore, National Population Commission should be supported to conduct a reliable, digital and green census for Nigeria.
The Commission on its part has taken some innovative steps towards achieving what it's called a green census 2024, but would require aid to address some concerns. From Dubai, Charles Alpha, NTA News.
And the Nigerian pavilion played host to local and international delegates of COP28 on occasion of the Nigeria's Day celebration in Dubai. Charles Alpha once again says that it was a moment to take stock and explore opportunities for Nigeria.
Nigeria's national stocktake, it is also called. Delegates in beautiful traditional wear and a colorful touch of green exchange pleasantries with lots of networking. The Nigeria's Day is an annual ritual, and in keeping with traditions of COP, delegates gather at the pavilion to rate Nigeria's performance, give account of breakthroughs and areas of interest yet to be explored, signing of several MOUs, activation of the Nigerian carbon market, and several commitments worth billions of dollars for loss and damage, as well as adaptation, are all part of the wins so far celebrated on this day.
The Nigerian Day is a special day that we've always set aside to look at what Nigeria is doing in terms of climate change actions, to discuss that, to popularize it, and to also seek support within the country.
We need to do better. Nigeria should not just be the giant of Africa by word of mouth. We should be giant of Africa by what we do.
The Minister of Environment, Balarabe Abbas Lawal, used the event to correct media reports making the rounds that governments funded a huge number of delegates at the climate change conference.
We should try by all means to prove them wrong. That we didn't come here for sightseeing. We came here to do something for Nigeria. And that's why throughout our preparation, we have many meetings with different sectors, with different ministries, where we sat down and tried to itemize what every one of us will do while he's here.
The idea will be to complement each other's efforts to build a common and formidable platform that will help to ensure that all commitments and declarations the government has made are implemented to the fullest. From Dubai, Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Thank you, Charles. Now let us look at this way. Being in peace is akin to being a beautiful lady. You need not claim you are. It simply shows. This is the case with Borno State Christian Home of Peace and Hospitality, and actually lived this motto until the tragedy of insurgency put things asunder. Well, that was also then, as Maimuna Garba tells us in this report, peace is once more the true face of Borno State.
A spiritual ambience as Muslims from across the country converge on Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, for national preaching and prayers under the banner of the Jama'atul Izalatul Bid'ah wa Iqamatus Sunnah. For the 13 years of protracted insurgency witnessed in the state, a gathering like this was unthinkable.
We want to see how we can, establish sustainable peace building, social cohesion and stability in Nigeria.
The return of peace to Borno has brought about significant development in all spheres of human endeavors, particularly the voluntary relocation and continuous mass surrender of Boko Haram terrorists. The state is now calm and peaceful, devoid of the deadly threats prevalent in the dark years.
I come from Benishek, where the people suffered one of the most traumatic experiences. 94 or so people, most of them strangers, were slaughtered like rams. And there were times in this town when people could not go out for congregational prayers, no going out to market, no going out to school. You don't even talk openly.
With more than 160,000 insurgents that so far surrendered and undergoing de-radicalization and skills acquisition projects, residents believe the end of the crisis is in sight, as stakeholders are now making concerted efforts toward peace-building processes, reintegration and reconciliation initiatives.
Currently, as I'm speaking to you now, in most of the community, there is a dialogue that is taking place to ensure that peace has sustained.
A drive across town reveals tall presence of urban renewal projects that have overwhelmed the physical ruins and scars bequeathed by the violent extremism. Commercial, economic and social activities have picked up, propelling the once glorious Trans-Sahara route back to its era of boom, while social and religious activities are holding without interferences.
At the micro level, the small-scale entrepreneurs have resumed, and things are...
This is Baga Fish Market. One of the markets was hit by activities of insurgents at the wake of the crisis. But with the return of peace, you don't need anybody to tell you that commercial activities are booming here. In Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
Thank you, Maimuna, and it's good to know that peace has returned. Now, the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board has achieved 54% of its roadmap in the oil and gas sector. Executive Secretary Simbi Wawote dropped the hint during the 12th edition of the Practical Nigerian Content Forum in Yenagwa, Bayelsa State. Doris Akumoye has details.
The 4-day Practical Nigerian Content Program is geared towards bringing all local manufacturers in one hub where they will deliberate and come up with ideas that will move the sector to the next level. Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board says the forum provides a platform to take stock of what has been done and chart a common front for key players to thrive. Records presented shows that the 10-year strategic roadmap launched in 2017 has recorded success, with 5 pillars rolled out to achieve its mandate.
From the flagship Practical Nigerian Content Forum, we introduced other board-sponsored events to deepen the conversation around the practice of Nigerian content, such as the Nigerian Oil and Gas Opportunity Fair, where we share 5-year look ahead of opportunities within the oil and gas industry.
The governor, represented by the secretary to the state government, are shows of support to create enabling environments to grow local content.
It provides an avenue for collaboration, knowledge sharing, and fostering partnership between key players in the sector.
Minister of Petroleum Resources Oil, Henike Lokobri, was represented by the permanent secretary of the ministry virtually.
We are exploring various avenues, especially improvements in technology, to see how we can better our production processes in cleaner ways.
There were goodwill messages from the Group Chief Executive, NNPC Limited, Melik Yari, Chairman IPPG, among others. The 4-day Practical Nigerian Content Forum has as a theme keeping Nigerian content amidst devisement, domestication, and decarbonization. Inyenegoa Doris Akomonye, NTA News.
Away from oil and gas, the Northern Governors Spouses Forum has made public its transformational agenda for the year 2024. This contained in a communique read at the end of a closed-door meeting at the NGSF Secretariat in Abuja. Onoze Yakubu reports.
Meeting which brought together wives of northern governors held behind closed doors. After robust deliberations, the chairperson of the forum and wife of the governor of Gombe State, Asma'u Inuwa, read out the communique highlighting key priority projects to be executed as part of the mandate of the office next year.
The Northern Governors Spouses Forum unanimously agreed to carry out a community outreach in Gombe State, which is the next state to visit in the next quarter of next year, God willing, to deepen their activities, community awareness and advocacy on drug abuse amongst women and children. Also to establish rehabilitation centers where none exist and refurbish existing ones.
The meeting was attended by 10 governors' wives, all pledging their commitment to the service of their region and the nation at large. Onoze Yakubu, NTA News.
Checking road safety now. As part of the end-of-the-year patrol activities of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Corps Marshal FRAC Dauda Alibiu has directed all commanding officers of the Corps to engage in palliative measures to make the roads motorable, as well as provide road palliatives where needed. In line with this, Cotton Carfe Command is conducting palliative repairs on Murtala Mohammed Bridge by filling of expansion joint on the bridge that has been causing breakdown on vehicles, traffic and accidents. The exercise was carried out by the staff of the command and supervised by both the corridor and unit commander. It is believed that this will be quite effective for a smooth movement along the routes. Deputy Corps Marshal Bisi Kazim, however, confirms that such activities have been replicated nationwide as part of efforts of the Corps in ensuring a hitch-free festivity. Time to watching News Extra. Professionalism and integrity are virtues expected of accountants to be able to contribute meaningfully to any organization they find themselves. Accounting professionals re-echoed this at the 6th session of the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria mandatory continuing education professional development program, where new members were inducted into the association. Larry Bailey has details.
The core value of the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria, ANAN, is training and retraining of its members. The mandatory continuity professional development says it all, as these professionals underwent intensive training on accountancy issues, which include current developments in financial standard, e-naira and international transactions, among others.
These are principles, guidelines, frameworks, and statements of recommended practices that are issued by the appropriate standard-setting bodies.
To demonstrate their readiness to function optimally as members of the association, the inductees went on a journey of research, after which they presented papers on various topics.
When you keep standards, your work will be able to leverage with international best practices.
The program dovetailed into the induction of new members.
This is a step ahead for me, in the sense that as an accountant you must be a professional.
It's a platform that I advise every new member to associate with.
A professional accountant, there's only one watchword: integrity, hard work, professionalism, accountability.
797 new members were inducted into the association, with 409 males and 388 females from all over the country. In Lagos, Lanre Bilayi, NTA News.
And experts in the financial sector are leveraging financial strategies to strengthen the development and promotion of sustainability in the non-interest financial markets in Nigeria. Bosade Ebo reports that this was the message at the first International Forum on Non-Interest Capital Markets held in Abuja.
Prediction by the International Monetary Fund projects that the world economic growth will slow from 3.5% in 2022 to 3% this year and 2.9% next year, a 0.1% point downgrade for 2024. To this end, experts say Africa has the chance to lift the non-interest financial space globally. The reason the Securities and Exchange Commission and Islamic Financial Services Board are joining forces to brainstorm on way forward.
There's also a need to finance and green projects so that the way to grow the economy is not just relying on foreign direct investment, domestic investment that is non-debt, but also that is green.
So this forum is really one of the efforts we are actually making to ensure that we reach the size that we had said we wanted to reach.
It is therefore important for us to be very responsive and accountable to what is going to be ahead of us.
In line with the present administration's Sustainable Development Growth Plan, it is an opportunity for the non-interest finance industry to tap into a vast and untapped global investor base, as both parties signed a memorandum of understanding. These financial experts are optimistic that Nigeria has the potential to join the League of the Global Islamic Finance Environment to address issues and create awareness towards financial development. In Abuja, Bosade Ebo, NTA News.
Nigeria is set to start trading in services outside ECOWAS following approval from the Continental Market Authority, having met 7 out of 8 requirements of the AFCFTA Guided Trade Initiative. Nigeria, now on the last stage, is set to start trading outside ECOWAS as products will be exported to South Africa, Morocco, among others.
The most important thing is to demonstrate first to Nigerians that there is a market out there. And so what I've been calling for is, look, produce more. Let's increase productivity in this country. Let's increase manufacturing in this country so we can export out to Africa. And that's what we're going to do with this. We're going to get the gazetting ready. We have a timeline of the next 2 months. It's done, but before that we will start the export under GTI. So we'll tell the whole world that Nigeria is ready, Nigeria is going to participate, in the African Continental Trade Area Agreement, and we're good to go.
And with the new act, the Customs Nigerian Customs Service Act 2023 that had just recently been signed and came into operation, you can expect a lot of things from us.
This is the right time, and I think that we will stand to benefit both economically and then to improve trade.
This is the greatest initiative among so many initiatives for Nigeria to trade under African Continental Free Trade Area. Gazetting it has actually shown that Nigeria is fully ready. Gazetting is the final stage of every law. That means part and parcel of our law now, so we can go and trade.
Now let's talk aviation matters. Air travel the world over, though the most expensive, is the fastest and said to be the preferred mode of transportation. The Nigerian aviation industry, once the largest and safest on the African continent, with significant contribution to the gross domestic product of the country, is currently experiencing the challenge of air accidents, raising concerns in many quarters. In this report, Aliyu Kabir examines gaps.
Air transportation is generally considered safe and fast. Safety of the Nigerian aviation has been a topic of concern due to past incidents. The government and aviation authorities have been taking measures to improve safety standards, but recent air crash incidents in the country raised multiple questions that require explanations.
If these things happen and we don't see sanctions, we don't call out the people who are involved, then I have failed as a minister.
The transport industry in Nigeria experienced a landmark event in 1985 when entry into the domestic airline was formally deregulated. This paved way for many airlines to come on board. Despite huge investment by the government towards improving aviation safety standards and regulations through various regulatory agencies, a large number of air crashes involving passenger planes have been recorded.
So invariably, regulated regime was a lot more expensive to the airlines than it is now.
Going down memory lane, the Kano crash involving British Airways Corporation in 1956, which killed more than 30 passengers, including the crew members, may have been the beginning of all the unfortunate air crashes that followed suit. For instance, on Sunday, June 3, 2011, the nation was thrown into mourning as Dana Airlines Flight 993 carrying 153 passengers on board crashed into a residential area of Lagos, killing all passengers on board. Just of recent, precisely on November 14, 2023, an aircraft belonging to Nigerian airline Value Jet skidded off the runway at the Port Harcourt International Airport in Rivers State. This is in addition to other air incidents on 3 different occasions in the month of November 2023 alone.
If you have a burst tire of an aircraft, you can't give excuses. There's someone who was given the responsibility to check the tires before the plane takes off. If the runway is not fit enough to land, or maybe it was wet and the skids of the runway, there's a failure of regulation. Somebody cleared that aircraft to land.
From the conceptualization of the airport, so before the design and everything in the airport, you need to know the windrows analysis so that you align your runway based on the prevailing wind directions.
Other issues of concern include the cancellation and delays, as well as high cost of ticketing witnessing recently.
We're also not blind and deaf to the cries of Nigerians of recent about delayed and cancelled flights. The law is there for compensation for Nigerians who bear the brunt of these delays and cancellations of flights.
If you decide to pass everything to the customer, to the flying passengers, you end up having to fly empty flights.
Generally, what passengers are concerned about include their safety, comfort, transparency and affordability in pricing. Timely and accurate updates during delays or disruption are also critical for passenger satisfaction. In Abuja, Aliyu Kabir, NTA News.
Thank you, Alir. Meanwhile, Nigeria signed bilateral air services agreement with the state of Kuwait for the commencement of direct flights of passengers and cargo between the two countries. Signing the BASA on behalf of Nigeria, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, alongside Acting Director General of Civil Aviation of the state of Kuwait, Ahmed Fale Al-Jelwi, noted that the signing of the agreement will enhance the desired economic ties and cooperation between the two countries, especially in commerce, tourism and education. Similarly, the minister also held bilateral talks with the President of Iran Civil Aviation with respect to commencement of flight operations for passengers and cargo between Nigeria and the Islamic Republic of Iran. They both expressed confidence that Nigeria could be a hub for cargo operation for goods emanating from Tehran to Africa. The event took place at the ongoing International Civil Aviation Negotiation ICANN taking place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. You're still watching News Extra on NTA. Now to health. The outbreak of diphtheria poses great threat to national public health. To prevent escalation of the infection, the Nigerian Red Cross Society, in collaboration with government and other stakeholders, is working through various programs. National President of the Society, Adiaga Adetayo, who called on Nigerians to join the fight against diphtheria, announced that the Nigerian Red Cross is making progress through various interventions like immunization, risk communication, and community engagement.
With the decline in number of diphtheria cases in Nigeria, the curve is showing uncertainties which medical experts are worried about.
Talking of the health of the people.
National President, Nigerian Red Cross Society, revealed that the organization is actively involved in fighting the infection through its diphtheria intervention program, which it recently extended to 12 states.
We need to protect and promote the lives of every individual on this earth that we have come in contact with, as a society, as a community.
Though successes are being recorded, the society is worried about vaccine hesitancy in hard-to-reach areas.
We are going to be supporting NCDC with increased community-based surveillance, I think, which is really, really important to actually understand the trend of the outbreak, how prevalent it is.
The Nigerian Red Cross got the support of the Lagos State Primary Health Care Board because we had a training which was conducted by them. We trained our volunteers, about 190 and 180 volunteers, and some branch staff were equally involved.
The Nigerian Red Cross Society says it will continue to collaborate with government and other stakeholders towards sensitizing the public on ways of preventing diphtheria in order to eradicate it. In Lagos, Henginu, John Adams, NTA News.
As the global community marks 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, Christian Aid UK Nigeria, a non-governmental organization, and partners have intensified campaign on social investments that will promote rights of women and girls in the socio-economic space in Nigeria. Kenneth Nanim reports.
Report by the Nigerian Demographic and Health Survey in 2018 indicates that 9% of women aged 15 to 49 had suffered sexual assault at least once in their lifetime, and 31% had experienced physical violence. Relying on the report and the increased rate of prevalence of gender-based violence reported during the COVID-19 era, the Christian Aid and partners want voices to get louder, calling for collaboration between public and private organizations for more strategic action that will change the narrative.
What we're saying is that for men and for women, we should have equal opportunity to engage in any conversation, and our views and perspectives should be respected.
We must continue to challenge sociocultural norms and stereotypes that condone and justify violence against women and girls, and to promote human rights for all.
Under no circumstances is violence against women is encouraged or allowed in Islam.
Christian Aid is also using the 16 days activism against gender-based violence to evaluate impacts of its community-based activities geared towards promoting rights of women and girls, as well as calling for more public awareness, personnel capacity building, legal support services and access to justice, healthcare and empowerment for victims and survivors. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
A bit in politics, leadership of the All Progressives Congress APC Southeast has pledged to unite in winning the remaining 3 out of the 5 states of the region for the governing party in all future elections. The unanimous decision was reached during a high-level strategic meeting between the Anambra State chapter of the party and some leaders of the Southeast, with the national chairman, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. Political correspondent Abubakar Akwanga reports.
It was a gathering of Uisu on the platform of the All Progressives Congress APC of the Southeast extraction and other state governors in attendance, and the widespread of the party's wave since Dr. Ganduje assumed office as its national chairman took the center stage, making positive influence in the Southeast region.
From every indication, sir, you have succeeded in retrieving what the locusts appeared to have eaten. We pray that the successes will be replicated in the Supreme Court. To advise ourselves, to set a target for ourselves and drive our target to fruition. That being the case, I am encouraged by the caliber of men and women I have seen in this hall today. There is nobody remaining.
The national chairman says the decision to come together under a common platform was a testimony of a democratic revolution in the offing and urged for all hands on deck approach.
We want you to be holding meetings right from the ward level to the local government level, to the zonal level, to the state level, to make the party active, to make the party viable. You have the timber and caliber of politicians. Even if you want us to temporarily relocate to Anambra, we are ready.
Meanwhile, the National Working Committee has received 3 returnees led by the former Deputy Governor of Niger State, Ahmed Issa Ibeto, from the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
Time to take a last sip. Next, some sporting stories.
All is now set for the 4th edition of the Chief of Defense Staff, Armed Forces and other security agencies half marathon slated for 9th December in Abuja. Chairman Organizing Committee of the Marathon, Air Vice Marshal Abidemi Marquis, in a press briefing in Abuja on Tuesday says the event is to further ensure healthy lifestyle of the men of the armed forces.
To improve their skills, discover new talent for the nation, and interact with one another.
Meanwhile, Nigerian Customs Service has promised to give Nigeria good representation at the upcoming FIBA African Basketball League in Egypt. This was after emerging winners of the FIBA Zone 3 basketball qualifiers in Abuja. Customs will be joined by second-place Aspak Basketball Club of Benin Republic as Zone 3 representatives in the FIBA African Basketball League, holding in Egypt between 8th and 17th of December.
But we're going to go out there and put up a good performance. If we're able to win a trophy, then it's just going to be, like an icing on the cake.
In match day 12 of the Nigerian Premier Football League, Kano Pillars moved into the 4th position in the league table after a 1-0 victory over Akwa United at the Sani Abacha Stadium in Kano. In other results, Niger Tornadoes and Remo Stars settled for a barren draw, while Heartland of Owerri defeated Bendel Insurance by a lone goal. With Sports Update, I'm Austin Edemodu, NTA News.
And that's the news. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Elizabeth Omori.
I am attuned to the hardship that